This picture was taken on June 18, 1964 in St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest settlement in the United States of America, at the Monsoon Motor Lodge. It captures a honky terrorizing his fellow citizens by pouring muriatic acid in a pool while people, including children, swam. This was only 14 years before I was born. The photo captures a swim-in protest, part of the St. Augustine movement, a defining moment in the civil rights movement. I am creating this video to share and document my personal experience when dealing with white domestic terrorists trying to terrorize me in St. Augustine on September 25th, 2018. This was just 1 month and 11 days after I survived a false arrest and illegal raid on my residence. The illegal raid and false arrest did not destroy my life. I only lost a job that paid my rent, electric, water, and missed 3 weeks of work for my second job. I owned a house, deed in hand at the time, not the bank's, which I inherited. Since I was the owner of the house, I was able to owner finance the home at 10% when I sold it, way above market value. After 2 years and just before my false arrest, the buyers refinanced, which left me with the entire principal before my 40th birthday. So I decided to go to Florida for a few days to decompress and retrieve a bike I had left in Fort Lauderdale, Florida earlier in the year. Again, St. Augustine is the oldest settlement in the continental United States of America and one of my favorite places to visit since 2004. It was part of the first Underground Railroad, which is a little known historical fact. It is home to the oldest unfallen masonry fort in the United States called Castillo de San Marcos and built by Spanish conquistadores. When I first started visiting St. Augustine, I used to stay in the historic part, which is around the fort. After my second or third trip, I discovered St. Augustine had a pier and hotel directly across from the pier, which was super affordable. So my story takes place at the Circle K in front of my hotel on St. Augustine Beach. Here's the police report that lists the perpetrators. Lance Cuvion from Louisiana was younger, taller, angry, and more handsome than me. The female, Zaide, and that second male, Joseph, got arrested for hanging around with Lance. I redacted the perpetrator's information for this video. The redactions at the bottom were done by the St. Augustine Beach Police Department to protect the victims from said perpetrators, which include my father, a Salt Life restaurant chef, and me. I'd like to take this moment and thank the 2 witnesses who took time out of their day to describe and record what they witnessed. I want to apologize to Jeff, the owner, or his manager, whoever I got behind after I knocked Lance down twice. I was not afraid of Joseph, I just did not want to continue fighting and end up in jail. The St. Augustine Beach Police report reads, Lance Cuvion verbally assaulted my father before attempting to physically attack him through the window of his vehicle. Let's skip to the next redaction, which is me. I attempted to defuse the situation by leaving, which led to Lance Cuvion attacking. Lance Cuvion was attacking the car that I could have easily run him over with. I'd like to take this moment and thank St. Augustine Beach Police Department. They treated me with kindness, courtesy, dignity, and respect, but showed up after the fight. This is how it went down. Me and my father got to St. Augustine Beach from Fort Lauderdale Beach and checked into the Regency Inn and Suites. The prices are cheaper now than they were then, with no resort fees or additional hotel taxes from the city. So after we checked in and left my bike in the room, we went to go get pizza. My father wanted pizza. The surrounding restaurants provide the freshest, most affordable seafood there is, by the way, but my father wanted pizza. So on the way back from getting pizza, we stopped at the Circle K to buy drinks. The Circle K is directly in front of the Regency Inn and Suites and is another reason I love the place. You can step out of your room and get anything you want 24/7. There used to not be a white fence where you could walk directly to the Circle K, but the Regency Inn is constantly improving its property since I've been a customer. So they put up a fence for privacy and security. So I parked my dad's car in front of the Circle K's door. No one was at the store except for me and my dad and 3 white people hanging out in the parking lot. I rushed inside the store and avoided eye contact. When I stepped outside with our soft drinks, Lance Cuvion started screaming at me. I never met the man, never spoke to the man, never even looked at the man. So in English, my dad said, "That's my son." For saying, "That's my son" in English, Lance Cuvion decided to throw a punch at my dad, who was sitting in his vehicle. So I jumped in the driver's seat immediately. I felt like I had took a wrong turn into a wildlife drive-through safari. My first thought was to run over the perpetrators and neutralize the situation. My better judgment took over. So I backed up and used the car to run away from the domestic terrorist, Lance Cuvion. Lance Cuvion began to pursue the vehicle we were in like a rabid monkey, barefoot, arms up, and no shirt. Again, I thought I took a wrong turn into a opiate white zombie apocalypse drive-through
Dieser Mann
safari.
begegnete in freier Wildbahn einem gelben Gibbon.
So I got him, dude, and parked the car south of the Salt Life restaurant and north of the Regency Inn and Suites. Plenty of space and opportunity. So, a barefoot and shirtless Lance Kuyan continued punching and kicking my father's vehicle. Again, I never met him and I don't know what we did to make him so angry. I got out of the car and started talking shit in English. I told him he picked the wrong one and let him swing. I caught his punch in midair with my left hand and countered with my right. I connected between his right eye and temple. Canelo's movements were very similar to mine. But I didn't miss, and the Kuyan went down. I had a chance and wanted to kick him in the head on the way down, but I can't ever want to hurt them like they want to hurt me. I'd be in prison or a felon. So I let Lance get back up. I didn't attack him or stomp him when he was on the ground. Lance couldn't see out of his right eye, so I targeted his right side. I continued talking shit and whacked Lance a couple more times. Lance went down again. You should never talk shit while you're fighting. You never know how it's going to go or if you get your ass whooped. While Lance was down for the second time, his girl, Zaide, and Joseph ran up on me. The manager or owner of the Salt Life restaurant also came out. I tried to explain to the manager or owner that I did not want to fight and if he could make the people stop. The only reason I parked where I parked was because it was the entrance to my hotel. I did not want to let the terrorists know where I was sleeping. So I got behind the owner or manager and asked him to stop the white people. Lance's girl, Saide, tried to tell me to get the fuck out of here. I tried to explain to her, look what I did to your boy. Joseph tried to defend Lance's honor and snuck a punch that grazed me. I had no choice but to begin wailing on Joseph. Lance finally got back up and decided to get back into the fight. That's what I get for not kicking him in the head. So I saw Lance coming out of the corner of my eye and threw a critical punch to knock him down for the third time, but I missed. Suddenly, my dad came out of nowhere and smashed Lance in the right side of his face. Lance went down for the third time, and my 71-year-old father started beating Lance on the ground. About this time, Joseph decided to run away like a coward. I tried to grab his hair, but he pulled away. The whole back of the house of the Salt Life restaurant got involved. A big red-headed chef from the Salt Life restaurant pulled my dad off of Lance. While Joseph was running away, he sucker punched the red-headed chef in the back of the head and split him open. As the St. Augustine Beach Police Department were arriving on the scene, I was pissed and in hot pursuit of Joseph, who ran into the Regency Inn parking lot. Joseph was running. I was walking. I did not want to make it look like I did something wrong. Once I hit the point where the fence got taller, I started running to track this motherfucker down. I thought he had ran into the indoor pool because the door was open. I got to the door and screamed, "Hey!" There was only this older lady. She was doing her exercise. I was ashamed with myself. What are you doing, Joel? Now you're terrorizing people. So I decided to get to my room. I got to my room and put in the key. Right at that moment, the finest police officer I have ever seen told me to stop and come here. If Michaela hadn't been so fine, I would have never listened. So I went downstairs and talked with her. She left me with her colleague, who was at least 6'4" and very professional. He did not handcuff me and kind of believed what I was saying. We walked together back to the scene of the melee. Once we hit where the fence gets shorter, patrons of the Salt Life restaurant stood up and began cheering. It was the Salt Life restaurant's happy hour. I was overcome with this strange feeling.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
They were there for great happy hour prices and unmatched views of the Atlantic. Sorry for the melee. It must have been the cheering from the second floor, which made me feel a certain type of way. Before the whole ordeal, I happened to be messaging a friend because I had a case of false charges hanging over my head. I thought I was going to jail for sure. I had never had a positive experience with police. I went into detail here. You can read it if you want to pause. At 4:53 on September 25th, 2018, I was claiming I kicked two people's asses. You can read they swung at my dad. He was in his car, and I knocked someone out without kicking him in the head. I had messaged my friend Kelly 3 hours earlier in the day. I was asking her if she could be a character witness for the false charges I had hanging over my head from other domestic terrorists who used their badge and costumes to terrorize me a month earlier. I make my videos to document a timeline of me surviving unprovoked attacks by the same type of perpetrators. Despite that, I was still having the time of my life. I'd like to thank the St. Augustine Beach Police Department again for believing me and providing me the only protection under law I've ever experienced in my life. Total professionals, even gave me the report for free.